What if I told you that the greatest footballer of all time, a global icon, a man synonymous with victory, was the victim of one of the most audacious cons in sports history? Not on the pitch, but in the shadows, where greed wears a friendly face. This isn't a story about a missed penalty. This is a story about 23 million euros vanished. A story of a promise made to sick children that was broken. A story of how a charismatic stranger walked into the orbit of a legend and almost got away with it all. This is the story of the man who scammed Lionel Messi. Our story begins not with a con, but with a cause. In the world of professional football, players are often approached for charity work. It's part of the job, a way to give back. For Lionel Messi, these causes were always close to his heart, especially those involving children. So when a man named Matias Messina stepped forward, he seemed like the answer to a prayer. Messina wasn't just any promoter. He was polished, charismatic, and spoke the language of high-stakes business with an easy confidence. He presented a grand vision, a charity match, Messi and Friends, to be held in Israel. The proceeds, he promised, would go to a foundation providing medical equipment for children in need. The goal was staggering. To raise over 23 million euros, Messi's team, a fortress of lawyers, agents and advisors, was naturally cautious. But Messina was a master of perception. He produced documents, made powerful connections, and painted a picture of a global event that would not only raise a fortune for charity, but also enhance Messi's legacy. The internal monologue within Messi's camp was likely a battle between skepticism and hope. At 3 million euros for sick kids? If this is real, we have to do it. The promise was too noble to ignore. They signed the contract. The trap was set, but as the date for the match approached, a strange pattern began to emerge. A pattern of delays, excuses, and a growing, unnerving silence from the promoter. The first mini payoff of this story isn't the money, but the first crack in the perfect facade. And it raises a critical question. What was really happening behind the scenes while the world was waiting for the match? The initial excitement began to curdle into anxiety. The first red flag was subtle, a minor delay in a payment. Messina had an explanation ready, a banking hiccup, an international transfer issue. It was plausible. Messi's team, wanting to believe, accepted it. But then another delay came. And another, from Messi's perspective, imagined the feeling. You've put your name, your reputation on the line for a cause you believe in. You're expecting to see this money go to children who need it. Instead, you're getting vague emails and missed calls. The man who was once so accessible was now becoming a ghost. The internal conflict must have been immense. Do we trust him? Or do we confront him and risk derailing the entire charity event? The open loop here is Messina's behavior. Why the silence? Was he incompetent, or was something more sinister at play? The answer lies in the way he was spending the money he had received. Investigations would later reveal that instead of securing venues and logistics, Messina was using the funds for a lavish personal lifestyle. Private jets, luxury hotels, extravagant parties. He was living the life of a high roller, funded by the promise of a charity match that was slowly disintegrating. He wasn't just delaying, he was actively bleeding the project dry for his own gain. The breaking point came when it became clear the match was not just delayed, it was never going to happen. The venues were never properly booked. The logistics were a fantasy. The entire 23 million euro operation was a mirage. Messi's legal team swung into action, launching a lawsuit against Messina for breach of contract and, more damningly, for the misappropriation of funds. Now, the story shifts from a delayed charity event to a full-blown legal war. Messina cornered didn't go quietly. He went on the offensive, giving interviews and claiming he was the victim. He alleged that Messi's team had backed out, that they were trying to sabotage the deal. It was a classic con artist move. Flip the script, create confusion, and paint yourself as the injured party. This is where the story reaches its boiling point. The climax. It's one thing to accuse someone of mismanagement. It's another to stand before a judge and prove it. The courtroom became the final pitch, the ultimate showdown. Messi's lawyers presented a mountain of evidence, emails, financial records, and testimony that painted a clear picture. They showed how Messina had failed to provide any real service for the money he had been advanced. Messina's defense, on the other hand, was built on smoke and mirrors. He talked about his grand vision, his love for football, but he couldn't produce a single concrete piece of evidence to back up his claims. The tension in that room must have been electric. On one side, the world's most famous athlete seeking justice. On the other, a man whose entire story was unraveling thread by thread. The judge had to decide who was the visionary promoter and who was the common thief. The verdict was swift and it was absolute. The court sided with Lionel Messi. Matias Messina was found guilty. He was ordered to repay the millions he had misappropriated, plus significant damages and legal fees. The grand payoff of this entire saga wasn't just the money. It was the official, legal validation of the truth. The con was exposed. The charismatic promoter was unmasked as a fraud. But here lies the final, sobering twist. The 23 million euros. It was never fully recovered. Much of it was gone, spent on the luxury lifestyle Messina had been leading. The sick children the money was meant for never saw a single cent of it. The dream of the charity match died, and with it, a fortune that could have changed thousands of lives. So what is the great lesson from the day Lionel Messi was scammed? It's a powerful reminder that even for the most famous and protected people on the planet, trust is a currency that can be stolen. Reputation is a shield, but it can't protect you from a lie told with enough confidence. The story of Messi and Matias Messina is a modern fable about due diligence, the dangers of blind faith, and the dark side of ambition. It shows that sometimes the biggest cons aren't played on the field, but in the boardrooms and backrooms where legends are made and almost broken. If you were fascinated by this story of deception and high-stakes drama, you have to see what happened next. We've uncovered another story of an athlete who was scammed out of millions, but this time the con was even more personal and devastating. Tapama. Click here to watch The Ghost Broker Who Vanished with a Star's Fortune. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that lie behind the headlines.